10 cities that are revolting against bad tourists. Lately, urban areas worldwide have expressed heightened dissatisfaction with so-called bad tourists, leading to a notable rise in protests. From Spain to Italy, locals unite to counteract the adverse effects of mass tourism, chiefly overcrowding. As protests continue, concern grows among residents and governments, prompting some cities to implement measures to curb this trend. So, which cities are spearheading this campaign against tourists? In this video, we uncover 10 cities revolting against bad tourists. Without delay, let's get right to it. 10. Reykjavik. In Reykjavik, Iceland, residents increasingly express concern about the detrimental effects of inappropriate tourist behavior. In response, Iceland has introduced a tourism pledge urging visitors to honor the natural environment and avoid activities like off-road driving and littering that cause ecological harm. This pledge is part of a broader initiative to foster responsible tourism and protect the island's fragile ecosystems. Reykjavik Excursions, a tour operator, is committed to promoting sustainable tourism practices in Iceland and mitigating the environmental impacts of its operations through sustainable procurement and biofuels. The company complies with relevant laws, government directives, and other requirements to manage and monitor significant environmental aspects, focusing on responsible resource use, waste reduction, and recycling efforts. 9. Algarve, Portugal. Ranked among cities revolting against tourists, the caretaker government in the Algarve has enacted stringent water restrictions to combat a critical water shortage exacerbated by an influx of visitors. This measure comes in response to recent demonstrations in Portugal, which have spotlighted concerns over environmental degradation and resource depletion. As protests against over-tourism intensify, tourists in the Algarve now face potential fines ranging from €200 to €36,000 for behaviors deemed antisocial, including playing loud music, camping outside designated areas, or littering. Given these steep penalties, you may want to reconsider your actions. On that note, let's head to the next city on our list to see what the locals have to say about tourists. 8. Paris, France. In Paris, residents are becoming increasingly vocal about the negative effects of mass tourism. Last year, in response to a housing crisis worsened by short-term tourist rentals, the government introduced new restrictions. As part of its initiative to combat over-tourism, Paris has banned the installation of key boxes on the walls of rental properties. This regulation, effective January 24, 2025, grants property owners 15 days to remove the key boxes, after which municipal authorities will dismantle them. Additionally, the city plans to increase its tourist tax to bolster public transportation and better manage the influx of visitors during major events, such as sports tournaments. 7. Santorini, Greece. In the summer of 2023, a towel movement swept through Greece as citizens rallied to reclaim public beaches from the encroachment of sunbeds and beach bars. In response, the government introduced stricter beach usage regulations and enforced compliance through regular inspections. This initiative was spurred by a tourism surge that has significantly bolstered the Greek economy. According to the World Travel and Tourism Council, tourism in 2023 not only exceeded pre-pandemic levels but also accounted for nearly one-fifth of the nation's economic output. The trend continued into 2024, with a notable 25% increase in tourist arrivals during the first quarter compared to the previous year. Despite local authorities advocating for visitor limits since 2012, the municipality still struggles to enforce a construction ban. The mayor is now urging the government in Athens to take decisive action to mitigate the adverse effects of over-tourism. 6. Dubravnik, Croatia. Dubravnik has enacted a series of stringent regulations to combat the challenges of over-tourism. The objective is to strike a balance between tourism and residents' quality of life, while preserving the city's historical heritage and addressing growing local frustrations. One key measure includes prohibiting new private rental permits in the Old Town, a step expected to reduce the prevalence of short-term rentals and improve housing availability for local residents. Additionally, Dubravnik has introduced strict guidelines for tourists, including dress codes that prohibit individuals from walking through the Old Town without a shirt or in swimwear. The city also enforces strict behavioral standards to maintain public order and safety. 5. Ibiza, Spain. Unsurprisingly, Ibiza, Spain, is among the cities pushing back against irresponsible tourism. Residents have organized protests, voicing concerns over the impact of mass tourism on their quality of life, particularly the sharp rise in housing prices. In response, Ibiza has introduced strict regulations to control tourism and address issues such as soaring rental costs and environmental degradation. These measures include licensing requirements for short-term rentals to ensure a balance between tourism and housing availability for local residents. Authorities strictly enforce these regulations, with non-compliance potentially resulting in hefty fines. As the government continues to tighten restrictions on tourism, let's explore another city where locals are taking a stand. 4. Malaga, Spain. On July 29, 2024, around 15,000 people gathered in Malaga, Spain, to protest against mass tourism, carrying placards that read, "Malaga for living, not surviving." Demonstrators voiced concerns over soaring rental prices and the gentrification of the city center, issues they attribute to the post-pandemic tourism boom. The protest drew a diverse crowd, including families, retirees, young adults, and even those working in the tourism industry. Many called for more affordable housing and criticized the rise of private holiday rentals, particularly through platforms like Airbnb. In response to the demonstration, Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez suggested potential government measures to regulate tourist accommodations. The protest highlighted growing frustration among residents, who argue that current tourism policies prioritize managing overcrowding rather than addressing local needs. 3. Amsterdam, Netherlands. Ranked among the cities pushing back against mass tourism, Amsterdam has seen protests where demonstrators chanted, "Tourists go home," and even used water pistols to deter visitors. In response to over-tourism and disruptive behavior, the city has introduced several measures, including tighter regulations on short-term rentals, a ban on new hotel construction, restrictions on cruise ship dockings, and the Stay Away campaign targeting party tourists. Local activists have taken drastic steps, organizing hunger strikes and using graffiti to protest tourism-driven developments. Meanwhile, city officials have threatened to cut off water supplies to unauthorized vacation rentals as part of their crackdown. As Amsterdam intensifies efforts to balance tourism with the well-being of its residents, let's head to Italy to see how locals are responding there. 2. Venice, Italy. It turns out that the City of Water, Venice, is among the cities pushing back against mass tourism. In recent years, the city has witnessed multiple demonstrations as residents voice concerns over the impact of over-tourism on their daily lives. In April 2024, hundreds of locals gathered at Venice's main bus terminal, holding banners that read, "No to tickets, yes to services and housing." The protest was a response to the introduction of a €5 entry fee for tourists, aimed at easing the strain of excessive tourism. The fee, enforced on 29 peak days before ending in July, failed to significantly reduce visitor numbers. Protesters argued that such a measure would turn Venice into a theme park, without addressing the deeper challenges facing the city. As Venice continues to grapple with mass tourism, let's wrap up this video with the top-ranked country on our list. 1. Barcelona, Spain. In Barcelona, public demonstrations against mass tourism have intensified. In 2024, around 3,000 people from more than 140 organizations took part in a protest, spraying water on tourists and chanting, "Tourists go home." These protests are not against tourism itself, but rather deregulated mass tourism, which locals argue has led to skyrocketing rental prices, environmental damage, and overwhelming crowds. In response to residents' growing concerns, local authorities have implemented measures to ease congestion, particularly to protect elderly residents from the effects of overcrowding. Additionally, the City Council has increased the tourism tax to €4 per person per night as part of efforts to regulate tourism's impact. As the "Tourists go home" chant grows louder, we feel so much at home that it's hard to say goodbye. Yet here we are at the end of this video. What do you think about locals pushing back against mass tourism? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching this video. Please don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell.